Check, check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, totally. Without wireless mic, well, totally. This is like a basically a wireless mic. You can hear it. It's like you put it in your other pocket. I think that helps. A little better, maybe.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2019 OPA World Championships, coming to you live from Englewood, Florida. Race number 4. The boats are out in the milling area. This is Super Stock SVX and Pro Stock V. And this race is brought to us by Porte Performance Products and Porte Performance Offshore Racing, Engineering, and Design. And we're lucky enough to have Scott in the booth. Scott, you were a pro stock racer. You had the Papa's PLR boat there for a while. I believe it was Maui Jim at one point. And you also raced with now a current competitor, Shadow Pirate.
That's right.
So you were saying when we came up here today that the water looks real slick. This is actually starting to look like what we saw in testing yesterday with his combos. It's starting to get. Do you think if teams were watching those earlier races, races 1, 2, or 3, did they possibly change their setup now based upon what they see? Any last minute? Did Nick Scafidi make any crazy last minute adjustments?
No.
No? No? Oh, come on. Nick Scavidi probably makes adjustments for everything. Well, Scott, while we wait for the boats to get underway here, we're still yellow flag. Or red flag, waiting for the start to happen. Scott, first off, tell us about Porte Products, because you did something very cool for one of the Class 7 racers. You donated one of the Porte brackets to them, and tell us a little more about those.
Well, we've been building the Porte hydraulic transom brackets for over 30 years now, and we've sold them in the marine industrial industry and to the Coast Guard and DEA, and a lot of them in the fishing and performance boat world. And we developed a line of race brackets also called the R Series that we've developed around the larger, higher horsepower outboards that they're coming out with for basically 100-mile-an-hour plus boats. So we've come to Class 7, and they have a variety of transom brackets and mountings and stuff on their boats. And we just made a deal with them and said, look, put our brackets on there. We'll give them to you at Rock. We've never really bragged about how our brackets hold up over 30 years, and nobody's ever lost a motor off of one. And I said, if you guys can't break one of these off a boat, then I'll start bragging about them.
Well, but you're not really the type of person that's going to brag anyway, so it's not really your nature as a person. But we're going to get back to the racing action. I brought you up here again because you race super stock, so hopefully you can give us some insight on some of these boats. This is my favorite class. I'm an outboard guy from back in the day. I simply love the super stock class. I think it's one of the purest forms of racing that you can get your hands on out here as the pace boat brings the boats up on plane. Now we're waiting for... This is a yellow flag, so they're going to wait for all the boats to get lined up. And the yellow flag will drop, and then we'll go to a green flag. Yellow flag still up. Jim Jackson still holding the group, trying to get them lined up as quickly as possible.
Green flag.
And we're green flag racing. And you see the rooster tails go up. These boats have all equally matched engine packages on them. And there's a couple different hulls running in this group. But what a start. Look at FJ Propeller, Wick, and Phase 5. But Scott, there goes your boat, Shadow Pirate, on the outside. Is Austin in the boat this weekend?
Austin is in the boat, and they drew the short straw, so they are in the outside lane.
You know, the outside lane isn't necessarily bad, though, because if they start scrapping the inside, you can stay in your water, keep the power on going through the outside. And we know your boat, or the Shadow Pirate boat, likes to turn. As we pan back now, this will be the start of SVX. SVX is a single-engine 30-foot V-bottom with about 650 horsepower. This is a really exciting group of racing here to watch also. These boats very equally matched. Lots of different boats within this group. And we're green flag racing in SVX, our second start of race number 4. And let's see who jumps out to the early lead. It looks like Sunprint to me, but Punisher's right there with him. Marker 17 Marine JR Boat Sales and Fisher Technology. And there goes Jared Lobo up in that group. See how that shakes out. Now we'll go back to Pro Stock B. These are the same boats. These run sealed Mercury Racing 525 horsepower engines. And it's real tight up there in the middle. And we're green flag racing there. LSP Hurricane of Awesomeness RevX Oil racing against its former teammate. Play it again. Just a slight lead over the rest of the group. Up in there. So Scott, it looks to me that Shadow Pirate is in the lead on the backside of this course going through the dog leg, and it looks like Killer Bee Phase 5, oh, I'm sorry, we'll just call it Phase 5 now, in second. We'll watch the, there we go, back to the Pro Stock guys. And Phase 5, you actually did work on Phase 5 for the previous owners. That's the newest, well, that's, no, Gary Ballou's boat would actually be the newest, right?
Well, now Gary Ballou's boat is a Victory, and the Killer Bee boat is a Doug Wright. So the only thing I did to the Killer Bee boat, which is now the Phase 5, was I race prepared it last winter and just went through and tightened everything up and made it as bulletproof as we know how to for the class.
Well, Shadow Pirate, remember, they were on the outside. You said they drew the short straw, but I kind of tended to disagree with you. And I said maybe the outside would work out to their benefit, and I think it has. Phase 5 and second. I can't tell who that is behind them in 4th and 5th between Wicht and Gary Ballou and FJ Propeller. And Jimmy Harrison is in the boat with Gary Ballou this weekend. But Shadow Pirate out to the early lead. Phase 5 and second. And that's Wicht in third. What a great run for Todd DePhillips. And look at FJ. Top 1, 2, 3, and 4 in super stock. And here comes Cape Hayes Marine, Ryan Beckley, the staple of the sport. Some pretty good separation of those boats down there. As we get back to SVX and Pro Stock V. And in SVX, it looks like it's the Punisher and possibly maybe Sunprint. But we'll wait till they come by. So, which hull, have you run the Victory hull yet? Have you gotten to mess with it at all?
No, I haven't. I know the hull well because I've studied it. And, Gary Ballou is the one that brought the first one of those to S-Class. And he spent this last year getting that thing dialed in. It's obviously a different animal. And he's been working with the center of gravity and working with the dial-in and propellers. And he's got a lot of speed out of the boat. There's got to be some left, and you'll find it.
Yeah, well, let's update everybody real quick. Punisher's in the lead at SVX. Parker 17 Marine in second. Great performance by JRA Boat Sales. They are running in third. Mr. Technology fourth. Sunprint in fifth. Boatfloater.com in sixth. And Sheriff Lobo in seventh. And Team Raven in eighth as they cross the start finish line to complete lap number 1. And we'll just stick right with these boys, Scott, as here come the Pro Stock V guys. These boats are almost exactly the same. The difference is the engine. SVX runs a carbureted, naturally aspirated engine, and Pro Stock are running a fuel-injected Mercury 525. LSP Hurricane of Awesomeness Revex Oil out to the lead as they have been so much this year. There's Slade again in second. Right now the battle is back to third though. That's that's Done Neal and Fast Boys battling for third. Ken Mullins was sitting to me yesterday in Fast Boys. I didn't even think I was going to make it down here. He was having so many issues, but fortunately he was able to make it, and he's currently battling for third place. As we look back to Shadow Pirate. So, Scott, what have you seen from Shadow Pirate that you like so far?
Well, he's made a good propeller choice, and he's keeping the attitude of the boat nice and low and lean and keeping it out of the air, and he's just laid down and gone.
Would he have gone for a bigger wheel, seeing as how flat it is?
Well, and on this team, we tend to err on the side of going too big,
okay,
rather than err on the side of going too small and riding on the rev limiters.
Right.
And those motors have enough torque. When you get down in the 5,000 RPM range, they still pull good.
Right.
So it's better to make the mistake in that direction.
Well, and as your setup of the boat falls away, especially in these spec classes, right? You got to worry about your weight when you go in, your weight when you come out. You've got to meet all that stuff. So you're trying to just get it right on that line. And, when it's too small, is it easier to lose the setup on the boat?
Well, as you run the race and the boat gets lighter because you're using up fuel, you're going to be on the rev limiters more if you've chosen too small of a propeller.
So the bigger prop allows you, to just be able to keep the, not get on the rev limiter, and like you said, run around 5,000 RPMs where you're still getting enough pull and enough torque from those 300 horsepower Mercury engines.
That's right. In the upper 5,000 RPM range is where all the torque is on those motors, and our rev limit is at 6,250.
And the rev limit is regulated by OPA and the racing group. We know you guys run the race pack data collector systems, but also the ECU rules. We'll ask you about that in just a minute. But let's go back to this battle in SVX. They are exiting the north turn, headed back towards the finish line. Punisher continues to lead. They're going to come into our view any minute now. There they are. Punisher continues to lead. Marker 17 Marine. This is a fantastic race here. Remember, these boats don't have any speed bracket. They can go as fast as they want. Marker 17 is a significantly newer boat than Punisher. But Charlie McCarthy has done a fantastic job at making Punisher just run. The best I've ever seen one of those boats run. Of course, JRA Boat Sales coming across in third. And Scott, I believe didn't you work with the JRI guys too a little bit?
I worked with Sunprint.
Sunprint, okay, I'm sorry. Sunprint, that's right, because you put the black bottom on Sunprint.
That's right.
Black bottoms are like an in thing now in boating, I guess.
Well, it's been our trademark for our modified bottoms. We have modified bottom on the Shadow Pirate, and we have one on the Sunprint boat.
Well, and the black bottom doesn't turn white, brown, and nasty.
Well, it also is hard to photograph, so it's harder for them to take your secrets away.
Oh, okay. See, some thinking there behind that black bottom. So here comes Pro Stock V, LSP Hurricane of Awesomeness. Revex Oil continues to lead. They have pulled away from Play It Again. But now Play It Again has to worry about Fast Boys. was done deal last time by the broadcast booth. And they have pulled away from Done Deal, and now they're trying to chase down, play it again. But play it again, Done Deal is now racing nobody's business. But it looked like Done Deal got around them. As here we see Typhoon and Showtime rounding out our Pro Stock B class. And then back to Shadow Pirate. Look at this battle here, though. This is now becoming battle for second. FJ Propeller and Phase 5. And Phase 5, Scott, has a very well-known throttleman in it for this super stock class, Jay Muller. He's raced a lot of these boats over the years.
That's right. And Al, that's at the wheel that bought the boat, he's got some background in the V-bottoms, and they're going to be a great team because Jay is one of the guys that can jump in a stock boat and make it run faster than most of us can.
Right. And I would actually say, Jay, I mean, he's a world championship throttleman in many different boats, but I think he's one of the most underrated throttlemen in the business. I mean, he races with Billy Moll, been racing with Billy for years, but I believe that you can get Jay Muller in a lot of different things and the boat can go fast. But super stock's always been one of his niche markets. Ran with Kyler Talbot for all those years when Joey wasn't filling in for him. And he's just he's floated around to a couple different teams, and it shows, especially with Phase 5.
That's right. And the Killer Bee boat is a brand new boat.
Yeah.
I mean, the Phase 5 boat. So it's solid, it's got no damage, and it's just clean, and it's set to race for the whole season.
And it's a beautiful paint job.
It is.
Which you're always skeptical to put on a race boat because you don't want that beautiful paint job to get torn up. But it is absolutely a fantastic looking boat. Now here is Marker 17 Marine. They were able to get around Punisher on the backside of the course. And they have simply pulled away from Punisher. So I wonder if Brian Forehand was just kind of speed checking Charlie and Tony, seeing what they were doing and where they're going. But whatever they did, it worked, and it worked out really, really well. Marker 17 Marine is now in the lead in SVX. JRA still in third as they come across the finish line. And there is Sunprint. Sunprint running in fourth place now in this SVX class. And Mr. Technology and Boat Floater rounding out the top six. So, Scott, if you were racing, what would you go with for these two boats? Would you want the carbureted motor or the fuel-injected motor?
I'd take the S-Class catamaran.
Oh, okay then. Not a V-bottom guy then.
Well, I started out in V-bottoms, but when I got my first catamaran, I got the bug, and you just get so much more miles an hour and so much more performance out of the same horsepower. It's a no-brainer.
Right. Well, and I will say from personal experience, and I used to work for LSD, and I was around when Britt bought the boat. To me, Pro Stock B and SVX are some of the hardest classes of racing. I mean, you're talking about a half a mile an hour between first and second place, and that could be a degree in pitch of a propeller.
I agree.
It's just that tight. And these guys put a lot of time and a lot of work into these boats in order to be able to go fast, and it shows. LSB Hurricane of Awesomeness, Revex Oil continues to lead. There's the local entry of Team Raven, based out of right here in Englewood, Florida. Robert Bryant in that boat, but now it's playing again, and Done Deal battling. Oh, big jump there by Shadow Pirate just out of your screen. Here comes Phase 5. That beautiful looking paint job. And as Scott said, if you recognize it, it was known as Killer Bee in its previous years. Al just bought the boat. In fact, right before the Lake of Pakong race, I took it up there on that little short track and did some testing and tuning on it, and then brought it out here to race in Englewood. You're watching the 2019 OPA World Championships live from Englewood Beach, Florida. Let's give a shout out to our sponsors. Of course, without them, we wouldn't be able to make this happen. This race has been brought to you by Porte Products and Porte Performance. Scott Porte sitting next to me in the broadcast booth. Our broadcast and our live stream have been brought to you by What's Up Racing. What's Up Racing, based out of Brick, New Jersey, engine builders and a full marine service dealership up there in Brick, New Jersey. And then we have AMH Construction. You'll see the AMH boat out in our next race in class number 5. AMH Construction, an Orlando-based construction firm known for their hospitality work. Then we have Dimensional Engineering. They're leaders in race technologies, 3D scanning, and reverse engineering. We have FD Marine Group out on the east coast rather of Florida. Randy Swears, Kim Swears, Statement, Contender, dealers for multiple other boats, of course, and they also have a good used inventory. Go to fdmarinegroup.com for more information. And then we have Total Sim US, world-renowned experts in aerodynamics and CFD. And Scott, Clay talked about it a little bit earlier. And I'm sorry, we said Total Sim. Yep, Total Sim. Clay talked about it earlier in one of our live views. You're working with the Dimensional Engineering Group and the Total Sim US to be able to make these cat boats safer, especially after what we saw just a few weeks ago down in Florida. The boats flipping over backwards. It can happen, but it's the technology to get the boat safer and not to happen is what you're working on, correct?
That's right. We've actually gathered up and been doing this for about a year and a half. And unfortunately, it was timely for them to have that kind of accident. But the thing is, there are some phenomena that happen with these catamarans because the weight of the boat is so much farther back than the center of lift for the air.
Right.
And there's a natural tendency for these to blow up in the air, especially if they've been airborne for too long.
Right.
And they get out of shape and you wreck. And we believe that there's plenty of technology out there that can reduce that, mitigate it, or prevent it altogether. And we're gonna pursue seeing how many answers we can find out and how we can administer it to the class.
Well, and we'll talk about that wreck that happened just a few weeks ago in just a minute. But here is playing again. They are currently second place, trailing LSP Hurricane of Awesomeness, Revex Oil, back out in front. This is where Britt has been all season long. Britt and Kevin have dominated this Pro Stock B group, but I'm going to give it to Play It Again and Fast Boys, but there is Shadow Pirate. They are our leaders in Super Stock, and Base 5, I believe, is caught up to them, and so is FJ Propeller. I'm wondering if this lap traffic and these waves are starting to get under these catamarans a little bit, not upset them, but just not being able to run the lines they want to be able to run.
Well, we are not allowed, as the larger class and the faster class, we're not allowed to go inside of the smaller class boats on the course. So they have artificially expanded the size of the course, and depending on where those guys are, they could keep you way out on a turn where somebody that's catching up with you might not have to yield to them because they won't be in the turn.
Right.
So it's an obstacle course now.
Well, and a V-bottom puts out a completely different weight than a catamaran. So when you're racing, you're getting the side wake and you're getting that chine-to-chine walk dipping from sponson to sponson. If that gets too violent, you've got to lift out of it just a little bit to let the boat reset, correct?
That's right. And it's just like when you're riding down a washboard road.
Right.
Things want to come unglued, get out of shape, and everything slows down. So ideally, you want to be out front in the clean water, and we don't have that option today.
Well, we just saw Cape Hayes Marine. They are running in our Super Stock class. Ryan Beckley, sponsored by the local Cape Hayes Marina here in Englewood Beach, Florida. Ryan Beckley does a fantastic job of being able to get these local sponsors to get behind him. All right, here's Marker 17 Marine. They are way out in the lead now in SVX. I'm looking for Punisher, and I don't see Punisher right now. So we'll have to see what happens. Don't know if Charlie and Tony Broker, what's going on? As we look, believe that's the FJ Propeller Hull, the lone victory hull in this class. And I do think Punisher's going out of it because I think JRA Boat Sales, who just went by our screen, they are currently in second place now. So Punisher is out. And that puts Scott, one of your boats that you worked on, Sunprint, up to third. And Steve Miklos is a very prepared guy when it comes to boat racing.
He is incredibly intelligent. He's the nutty professor of that class, and he is brilliant.
Well, and that's the only boat, the second generation Extreme, Typhoon and LSP Hurricane of Awesomeness, Revex Oil run. Oh, I think we have a spin out. I think we have a spin out up on turn 3. Let's see what we've got going on. We do have an incident on the course. We're going to wait to see what happens. We have a boat upside down right now at turn number 4. So this will put the race into a red flag situation. red flag situation here in Englewood after a boat has flipped over. Pace boats will throw red flags.
It's FJ Propeller.
And where they have finished when that red flag comes out,
It's FJ, I think.
is where they have to stop. And I think it's FJ Propeller. And I just happened to look up. And saw it happen. FJ was really tight on the inside of that corner. And it looks like both are out of the boat from what I can tell. I did not see a diver deploy, although they may have. But I do see two people on the bottom of the boat. So I believe Jimmy Harrison and Gary Ballou are out of the boat. A tough day for Gary and Jimmy. And like you said, that boat, Gary's still getting used to it, but he was really rejuvenated with that boat. He told me multiple times, he's like, man, I'm excited to do this again like this. I've got to learn this boat. I've got to learn the setup on it and stuff.
Well, I'll tell you, Gary he and Doug Wright are the ones that are responsible for this class moving as far forward it has in the last 20 years. And they've collaborated and improved and made more improvements, gone back to the factory and designed new boats. So it was a surprise to see Gary go to the victory, but he's got connections with them because he races overseas too. So he made a change, and the boat's giving him a little bit of a hard time, but it is fast and it's very well built, and he will work the bugs out of it.
Well, it's been getting faster all season long. Now, as I said before, we do have a boat over on the course. FJ Propeller has gone over on the course. This puts the race into a red flag situation. And what happens is with the red flag, is the boats will stop in the position of which they were running. Race control will then decide what happens with the remainder of the race if there was more of a percentage done. Now, the boats on the backside of the course, I don't think have gotten to the red flag situation yet. The pace boats having the red flags on them, signaling the stop of the race. We do not go under caution anymore. We stop the race when we have assets deployed to go into the water, and we do have FJ Propeller over right now. So they will try to get FJ Propeller hooked up as quickly as they can, Scott, and get him to the inside of the course so we can restart this race. But it did look like both Jimmy and Gary were out of the boat, came up through the bottom, which is now the top of the boat. There's an escape hatch there on the bottom that allows them to come out. Very, very interesting terminology there, coming out on the bottom of the boat, which is now the top of the boat, right? It's a different way to look at things. So we're putting red flag on the course right now. We've gone red flag until OPA gives us the green light to restart, as FJ Propeller has gone over, entering turn number, I call it buoy number 4, but it's the northern end of the turn. And Scott, I think he was really trying to just get in there with phase 5. And I just happened to look up and I kind of saw it. And then I saw a whole bunch of whitewater, and that must have been when the incident happened.
Well, and that's the thing with the racing that we've been doing. The way we get around the race course has changed quite a bit in the last 5 years. And we're running a lot tighter on the buoys, a lot more aggressive turns. And Gary has typically swept the turns in a drift all the way around the outside. And we've found out that it's a little faster being on the inside. So he's been forced to come in closer, and he's not liking that. And I'm sure he's not liking it now, but he was starting to make that boat turn, and that was contributing to the speed that he was getting around the race course.
Yeah, definitely not able to carry the speed through the corner. I mean, he was trying to just get on the inside of phase 5. I mean, that's what he was trying to do. That's where he wanted to be. He was trying to put it in there, even if it's just to show him a nose, trying to let him know that he was there. Does phase 5 have a rear view camera on board?
I do not know.
Okay. I mean, some of them do, some of them don't. I don't know how many super stocks have it, but most of the canopy boats now racing at least have some sort of rear view camera, so you can see at least something behind you.
Yes, that's right. I know Ryan Beckley does in the Cape Hayes boat, and I know the Shadow Pirate has it. I just don't know if they've outfitted the phase 5 boat.
All right. Well, we do have FJ propellers over, so I looked over to our race control just a minute ago, and race control was letting us know that they are going to take the race boats back to the milling area. So what's going to happen is there will be a restart of this race with the remaining laps. the boats will go back to their original start positions. So, for example, whoever had the pole in super stock will go back to the pole, and they will line up how they lined up at the beginning of the race to restart. I did not get a lap count, so I'm not sure how many laps were left in this event, but super stock was running 12 laps, V Extreme was running 12 laps, and Pro Stock V was running 11 laps. And I do think we were just about to the halfway point of this race when this incident took place. You're watching the 2019 OPA World Championships coming to you live from Englewood Beach, Florida. Englewood Waterfest, beautiful sight down here. And Scott, you've been here before. You've gotten to enjoy this town before, right?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. The fans are just so supportive down here. The block party last night was absolutely amazing, and just a great time. And we're real happy to be here, right?
Well, I would agree. You know, if you've ever gone any place out in the Midwest, like Lake of the Ozarks, you find that people are extremely engaging and friendly there. Yep. And this is like a slice of the Midwest.
Yep.
It's a different cadence. It's a different speed, a whole different atmosphere, and it's peaceful. But the people want race boats here, and we enjoy the daylights out of it. And the beach is packed. I mean, it's wall-to-wall people for as far as you can see.
No, it's awesome. But, and like you said, Lotto, and that's why I like the Michigan races, Michigan City, Indiana, and St. Clair, Michigan, so much. I mean, the people are just so excited to have us up there and to have us racing up there. I mean, the Michigan City block party, to me, rivals Key West as far as people are concerned and just how much, happens there. But they do a great job.
I agree.
As we'll run through our sponsors one more time, our presenting sponsor for this broadcast is Was Up Racing Engines, based out of Brick, New Jersey. Full repair shop and marina in Brick, New Jersey. Porte Products is bringing you this race, the race that we have paused. Porte Products and Porte Performance. Scott Porte joining me in the booth. Offshore engineering and design for race boats. And you do pleasure boats also, right?
Yes, we do.
There you go. So we're under a red flag. AMH Construction, based out of Orlando. The general contractor known for their hospitality work, amhconstruction.com for more information. Dimensional Engineering, leaders in race technologies, 3D scanning, and reverse engineering. FB Marine Group, out on the east coast of Florida. Randy Swears, Kim Swears, your contender statement dealer with a variety of used boats as well. FBMarineGroup.com for more information. Total Sim US, world-renowned experts in aerodynamics and CFD. Total Sim US. All right, so we're under a red flag situation here as we're winding down. This was our fourth race of the day. We've got one more to go. Now, it looks like FJ Propeller might be under tow, but they're going to wait till that clears before we get to go again. So let's see what we come up with. But they have taken all the remaining race boats back to the milling area, and they are circling, waiting to restart this race. And as I said, they will line back up in their positions. And once race control officially clears the course, then we will go back racing, green flag racing here in Englewood. So, Scott, tell me what makes the Porte bracket. I mean, I've seen it plenty of times. Tell me what makes it different rather than a jack plate. It's obviously it's more of a setback. It's more of a setback bracket. But tell us some other things about it.
Well, the Porte bracket design is a folding parallelogram with a diagonal hydraulic cylinder in it, which doesn't mean anything to most of us. But the jack plates that are out there they're guillotine style, and as you raise your engine up to get the performance, the bearing surface is reduced, and the load bearing surface is reduced, and the bracket weakens the higher you raise it. The Porte bracket, the hinge design actually loads completely. It loads fully as you raise the bracket up. So our product gets stronger when you're putting it in a position where it has to take the beating and run the speeds rather than weaker. So our bracket has about 10 times the load bearing surface area of the competition when it's in the up position, flat out.
And explain the idea. I mean, I know, but explain to our viewers that may not know. Explain to our viewers why we're trying to raise those engines. What are we trying to do? I mean, I understand it, but explain it for the general person.
Well, there's a balance between pushing your gear case through the water and getting the right amount of propeller in the water. And this frontal area creates drag underneath the water. So the higher you raise the gear case, the faster the boat's going to go. It's like sticking your fist in the water out of a boat and trying to hold it underwater. And the less of your fist that's in the water, the easier it's going to be to hold it there. And that drag uses horsepower. So there's a balance there, and there's a certain height that we get to where it's the sweet spot, and being able to push a button and move your engine there makes it to where you're always ready for whatever kind of water there is, whether it's shallow, whether it's rough, or whether it's smooth, and you can have the optimum height for your gear case, just like you get the optimum angle with your trim on your power trim system on a boat.
But these also, I mean, we talk about it from a performance aspect, but a lot of guys in South Florida here, the West Coast to the East Coast, that do a lot of flats fishing, run up into the mangroves a lot. There's also benefits with your bracket for being able to get that engine up as high as possible, whether it's like a tunnel or a channeled flats boat or something like that, or even for just shallow water running, correct?
Well, that's right. And all of the jack plates that are on the market, the maximum travel they have is 6 inches. And the smallest bracket we make in the fishing series has 12 inches of travel, with the largest having 24 inches. So we are able to hide the entire gear case and propeller behind the transom. So if the boat can float in the water, you can navigate in it without tilting your motor.
Right.
So you don't lose control of the boat while you're steering in forward or reverse.
Or water pressure or anything like any of those critical.
That's right.
Any of those critical things. Well, you're watching the 2019 OPA World Championships coming to you live from Englewood Beach, Florida. We did have an incident on the course where FJ Propeller did go over entering this northern turn here. And it looked like it was going to be a heck of a race there between FJ Propeller and Phase 5. But I think Gary just went in there, like you said, a little bit too hot. And that caused, this unfortunate issue of him going over, although it did look like both of them got out. I did see two heads from our vantage point. So now I think we have Cito here will hook up, or one of our rescue boats will hook up and get that boat towed, try and get it flipped on the outside before they send it back in to be flipped over. But because it's salt water and whatever damage could possibly have happened, Scott, I pretty much would think that Gary's weekend is probably over.
Well, it would be a gargantuan project to try and get the boat back together and dried out with all the salt and everything out of it and the damage that happens by tomorrow. And the problem is the points that got lost today because of a do not finish, the lack of those points is going to take him out of he was actually the main guy in contention for the APBA National Points Championship.
The high points championship.
That's right, high points overall, unclub related, but for the entire country. And so he came here in the lead of that, and it was going to be very easy for him to keep it, even if he got third place today. So that might be out of his reach, but I'd have to sit down and look at the numbers to be certain.
Yeah, and I mean, that's hard stuff to keep up with. Now, if he flipped over in freshwater, I mean, while there still could be damage done to the boat, and obviously the motors got submerged underwater, freshwater, flipping over in freshwater and flipping over in saltwater are actually two completely different things.
Well, that's right. We wash our outboards with freshwater, and we even wash the power heads and the electrical systems with a hose. And so freshwater gets the salt out of there. But the big problem is salt conducts electricity.
Yep.
When that boat goes over, if you don't get that battery switch turned right off, it fries the entire wire harness, ECU, your alternator, your starter. It ruins everything because the electrolysis and the little tiny pins in there just deteriorate in minutes.
Yeah, and it's really hard. I mean, you're flipped over. You're not worried about turning the battery switch off. You're worried about getting out of that boat, especially in a canopy boat. You're not. I mean, maybe you're thinking battery switch, but you would also be thinking, let's get out of here.
Well, unfortunately, it takes a few times of going over to have your wits about you enough to where you start turning the battery switch off.
Right.
But eventually you get it because if you're going to race, you're going to go over.
Yeah. I mean, accidents are an unfortunate part of racing, but they do happen, and we know that. We know you're working on being able to make that safer. Now we know the boat's flipping over is one thing, but what about something that happened here, which looks to be just maybe a spin out, or maybe he high-sided it, hooked that rear corner, and flipped it? What could you do to maybe have prevented that?
That is not something we're working on. It's like trying to prevent a car in NASCAR from getting sideways and then hooking up and spinning, flipping over. That's just way out of our reach. What we're trying to do is deal with aerodynamics and some of the way the air is flowing over and under the boat and underneath the running surfaces, and possibly have some kind of design to redirect that stuff if it gets over a certain attitude as far as the frontal area goes. So there's some things we're not going to be able to take care of, and I think flipping over in the turns is one of them we're not going to be able to touch.
Well, and you know, like you said, I mean, that's just racing. It happens in NASCAR, but you're talking of something like we see in NASCAR. NASCAR flips around, you know, when one of those cars gets going backwards, which is where they're most susceptible to flip over. They get the flaps that come up on the hood and the roof and everything that basically they're like brakes, right? They force that car back down to the ground. Is that something that you're similarly looking to do?
Well, the thing that's so neat about what we're doing is the remedies that we're looking at and we're pursuing, somebody else has already thought of them. They've either done it in the aeronautical industry, or they've done it in NASCAR, or they've done it in some other aspects of boat racing, whether it's unlimited hydros or F1 or whatever. So we have the liberty to take that information and bring it here and couple it with new technology. Well, our goal would be not to have any extra moving parts on the boat. If I could have my way with it, we would simply have some design changes that created a non-stall situation or something like that. But we don't have enough information yet to be able to say what the best choice is going to be. In 2020, we're actually going to use a boat as a mule, and we're going to be trying some of these appendages, changes, air redistribution systems, and running surface changes to see what sort of results we get.
Well, it's tough because when you look at buying, let's say Phase 5, for example, let's say to build that dug right hull, you're looking at spending $150,000 a minimum just to build the hull, right?
That's right.
That's not rigging, that's not paint, that's not a trailer, that's not the rest of it. Well, nobody can really afford to go out and flip a $150,000 boat. You know, NASCAR can get a dummy car built for what? 85% less than that, you know, to at least be able to test the roll cage and the protection and the flipping with the aerodynamics and the wind tunnels. Just nobody's been able to do it at this level because it's virtually impossible from a financial standpoint to build one of these boats, you know, figure out how to flip it over to prevent it.
Well, I agree. And you know, I don't know exactly when NASCAR started, but S-Class, we're a lot of us call S-Class the NASCAR of offshore racing. But we're like NASCAR was 30 years ago.
Right.
So we're in our infancy as far as tapping into technology and using experience. And the money isn't there, just like it wasn't there in NASCAR years and years ago. So everything you see in offshore racing, you see the race laps getting shorter. It used to be the 25-mile laps, and they'd go out over the horizon and disappear, and everybody would lose interest. They've brought this in close to shore, made it a real spectator sport. And they're taking a lot of cues from NASCAR, and they're using them to build the sport and build the fan base. And that's where the sponsors are going to come from. That's where the money's going to come from. So there's a natural order that if we just follow the trail that's already been laid by NASCAR, we have the potential to get ourselves in that sort of realm where these kinds of things are funded. You know, right now, a bunch of us are doing it because we want to, and there's a lot of sharp minds in this sport. And we want to draw everybody together, and we want the brain trust that's already existing with the experience and with the young minds and with the technology. We want to get that together, and we want to make this work for everybody.
Well, you talk about super stock, obviously, because you're a super stock racer, and that's what's out here racing now. But what about the Super Cat class? What about Class 1? What about Extreme? I mean, will your technology be applicable to those boats as well?
Well, you know, in our minds and in our conversations, we think so. If let's say we stumble on something and we discover something that's just a no-brainer and it's a small change, we want to see it on every poker run boat.
Right.
We want to see it on every boat out there that has the potential to hurt somebody that doesn't have it.
Right.
And I'm telling you right now, we want to do this for the good of the sport. People go, well, how are you going to monetize that? And I go, well, you know what? I've always done what I enjoyed doing. And I've made a pretty good living at doing that.
Right.
And I haven't had to skin anybody for it. The opportunities come along, and that's what we're doing. Is we have a sincere interest in continuing the sport, whether I'm in a boat or not. I'm going to be involved in offshore. And if it's design work, if it's safety, if it's hardware, if it's anything that has to do with bettering the sport, I'm all in.
Well, yeah, and that's the most important thing. But you brought up an interesting topic of even poker run boats. You know, I mean, these poker run boats are just getting faster and faster and faster and faster. You know, and they have the chance to be able to flip over too. So being able to get the MTIs and the skaters and those companies to be able to apply that technology, I think would be tremendous.
Well, and it's getting more and more common when you hear about somebody having a 150-mile-an-hour accident in a pleasure boat weekend, running around in the poker run boats. And it is an atmosphere where if you have enough money, you can go out and buy something that you don't have a lot of experience in operating. And most of the poker run folks don't have race experience. They don't have the experience navigating in rough water or in situations where they get in a pinch. They're good at going fast in a straight line, like so many of us are in cars and motorcycles. So there's a huge difference in experience in the poker run side of things. So it's possible that might be even more viable, or at least as viable as using it offshore racing. But racing is where you start all the cool stuff. It's where all the new technology comes from. And so hopefully that trickle down will make a difference.
That would be awesome to see it. And obviously, we thank you for the support. I mean, we've all lost friends, unfortunately, because of those accidents over the years. And there's some things you can't prevent, you can't change. But accidents are going to happen, and we just want to be as best prepared for them as we can, right?
I agree.
All right. Well, you're watching the 2019 OPA World Championships coming to you live from Englewood, Florida. We are under a red flag situation because of an incident that we had on the course. So I'm going to step over here to race control for one brief second to see if we get an update on a start. So we've got word from race control that the helicopter had to go refuel. So that'll be about a 10 to 15 minute gap of time. So these boats are going to hang out in the milling area. What we'll do is we'll go silent for about 10 or 15 minutes. And once we get word from race control and see the pace boats doing their things, we'll come back live. The live stream will stay up. So thank you for watching the the OPA World Championships coming to you live from Englewood Beach, Florida. We'll be back in just a few minutes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are racing after the red flag situation. Sorry, I got kind of caught off guard there a little bit, but what a restart we've had in Super Stock. Shadow Pirate picked right back up from where they were leading before, but now Wick is right up there with him. And again, so is Phase 5.
That's wicked.
Wicked. Wicked, sorry. I thought Wicked was always wrong when I said it. Okay, Wicked. But Wicked's going to be on the outside of this group. Phase 5 is going to be in the middle with Shadow Pirate. We'll go back down. Now we'll restart SVX. Remember, Punisher went out with some sort of an issue. Not sure what happened. Marker 17, Marine, was in the lead. JRA Boat Sales was in second. And we're still under yellow flag for SVX. Yellow flag, Marker 17, Marine, right there on our screen. That's still holding yellow flag. So they're still trying to get these boats to line up. And there's a green flag, so we're going racing an XVX. Let's see if Marker 17 Marine can get back out to this lead that he had before. But all these boats matched together on the start. As they hop around a bit, Marker 17 Marine, the furthest away from you. As you see that group come back, now we'll pan back and go back to Pro Stock B. Still yellow in Pro Stock B, looking for a green flag. Not a good lineup here right now. They're trying to tighten it up just a little bit. Still under yellow, still under yellow, still under yellow. There's a green flag. Now we're going racing in Pro Stock B. LSP Hurricane of Awesomeness, Trevek Oil was leading when we went under that red flag situation. So let's see if Bridget Kevin can jump back out to the lead. Go back over to Super Stock as they head into the northern turn of the course. It was Shadow Pirate in the lead. And Phase 5 and Wicked were back side by side, but now there's been separation between those top three boats. And I believe that's Wicked in third, and Phase 5 is now in second with Shadow Pirate in first. Remember, FJ went out early, or went out about midway through that race when they flipped over in the corner. But Shadow Pirate's in the lead, Phase 5 in second, and now Wicked in third. And Scott, I think it's actually flatter than what it was last time.
I think so. It's calming down as the day goes on.
So Shadow Pirate in the lead in Super Stock, Phase 5 in second, Wicked in third. On the backside of the course, let's see who we've got in the lead in SVX. Kind of hard to tell with the glare, but we'll see if we can make out some shapes here shortly. It is Marker 17 Marine in the lead in SVX as he heads into the corner. This buoy number 4 of this 3-pin turn. So remember, Punisher was leading, and he went out with some sort of mechanical issue, turning it over to Marker 17 Marine, and now Marker 17 Marine is in the lead after the restart. And let's see who we've got running in second. It looks like Sunprint is all over the back of Marker 17 Marine. And I think Sunprint was on the inside and jumped back to the outside. The Sunprint has made up a tremendous amount of ground. And I actually thought they were a little bit closer there. But they're not as close as I had thought. So it's Marker 17 Marine in first, Sunprint in second. And it looks like boatfloater.com. You know, in NASCAR, they call the lucky pass when the last car on the lead or the first car on the lap down gets to go up to the pack or whatever. I think boatfloater.com kind of got that because boatfloater.com was back in 5th or 6th place when they were going by, and now he's up there battling for third. with Sunprint. And unfortunately, JRA Boat Sales, who worked their way all the way back up to second, is now way back in the pack after that red flag situation.
Yeah, and in the restart, they are supposed to line up in the pole from the pole position and be the guy that was in first, and second, third, and fourth on out away from the pole.
Not much has changed though in Pro Stock B, except now Fast Boys is in a solid second place, and playing again is going to have to worry about nobody's business, as nobody's business is going to try and make a move on the outside of playing again. So it's Nugget or it's LSD Hurricane of Awesomeness Revex Oil leading in Pro Stock B. Fast Boys in second. The battle was for third between Nobody's Business and Play It Again. Back out now to our SVX class. That's Marker 17 Marine. They continue to lead in SVX. Last time by Sunprint was in second, and BoatFloater.com was in third. Here is our second place boat in Super Stock, Phase 5. Lot of separation now between top 1, 2, and 3 in Super Stock. And there is Cape Hayes Marine. And remember, FJ Propeller went out after flipping over, and they were the one that caused the red flag situation. We understand that everybody's okay. They'll work on getting that boat back to the crane and getting it flipped over as soon as possible. But Shadow Pirate picked up right where they left off. In fact, all of our leaders picked up right where they left off from where this race stopped before. So it looks like Marker 17 Marine is now headed into this buoy 4 situation. The buoy 4 turn. Remember, 3-pin turns here in Englewood. You're watching the 2019 OPA World Championships coming to you live from Englewood, Florida. And it is Marker 17 Marine. So, Scott, what's the next step for this Super Stock class? I mean, y'all had the 280s before, and that had to change. You went to the 300s. The 300s are becoming thinner and thinner by the day to get. Well, what's the plan?
Well, that's right. If you want to build a new Super Stock boat today under the current rules, you've got to build your engine out of parts. And this happened to us under the 280s when they became unavailable as complete engines, and it's also happened with the 300XS. So the next motor in line is the new 300R Mercury, and Mercury, it's a 4-stroke and it's a V8, and it is a powerhouse. It's stronger than what we're running, but Mercury is developing a 15-inch midsection for us, which is a shorter motor than what you would see in a service motor, and they're developing that for the race side of the marine industry for our class in Super Stock and the F1 boats, and so there's a lot of race requirements for them, and I think they'll eventually be available to the public, and they'll be running them a lot on bass boats and stuff like that.
But they will not be going to the ROS boat.
No, we will not be going to the 400 ROS that they're racing currently in XCAT.
Well, here is the local entry. This is Team Raven, based out of right here in Englewood, Florida. Robert Bryant owns that boat, lives right here in Englewood, Florida. In Pro Stock B, LSP Hurricane of Awesomeness Revex Oil continues to lead. Nobody's Business, Fast Boys in second. Nobody's Business has gotten around playing again. And Typhoon has come up in this group. As the Pro Stock guys and the Super Stock guys are starting to lap up into the Pro Stock B guys. And there goes Shadow Pirate. They are your leader in Super Stock. There is Phase 5, currently still in second, and Wicked in third. A lot of separation now in the Super Stock class, and I would tend to believe that it's probably going to be Nick's race to lose at this point.
Well, just looking at the boats out there, if you look at the guys in Phase 5, this is their first real race in the boat. They did a little practice race up at Lake Apacon, but that boat is brand new to them. Look, they're running in second place. You look at Wicked, that boat was built by Todd DePhillips, the guy that is on the throttles in the boat with Mike Beckham. So he spent several years designing and building that boat, and he's out here running in the top 3 with it.
No, and he had a good race with us when he raced in Fort Myers just about a month ago. He had a good run there too. I mean, he was up towards the front. Todd knows a lot about the sport, though, more than anybody would probably give him credit for, because it's kind of not a no-name guy, but he hasn't been around. I mean, he's been around for a long time, but he hasn't been around, if you know what I mean.
Well, he's a motorhead and he's a go fast boat junkie, and he was inspector for SBI for some time. So he knows these S boats, he loves them, and he knows what to do to make them go. And that's a brand new boat out on the course this year. So he's got a little bit more dial in, and that thing's going to be in the top 3 most of the time.
Well, we welcome to see that type of performance from Wicked. Shadow Pirate continues to lead in Super Stock. In SVX, it's Marker 17 Marine, who has simply just checked out. As you see on your screen, Shadow Pirate lapping down, I think, up all the way into Pro Stock B. But in SVX, here is Marker 17 Marine, Brian Forehand. And that boat looks really, really good. And the Outer Limits Hull, the only Outer Limits in this class. And in fact, the only Outer Limits of this style boat built. Sunprint currently in second, BoatFloater.com in third. And there is Shadow Pirate. They get through the dog leg clean. And Scott, since we've got a lot of separation here, tell me what you think about this course in Englewood.
Well, it's a little bit different than what we're accustomed to running. So you have to consider your propellers, because there's basically 5 turns to the race. It's not an oval-shaped course where there's 2 round ends. It's actually about 4 corners, and then with a chicane or a dog leg on the inside of the outside leg. So you've got to choose propellers, and you've got to set your boat up to accelerate more than what you want to do for running that top end speed on those long straightaways.
Well, I've got another question to ask you, but I do have to thank our sponsors before we go a lot further. This race number 4, is being brought to you by Forte Products and Forte Performance. Scott Forte has joined me in the broadcast booth. Our presenting sponsor for this broadcast for the entire thing, for both days of the racing for the whole weekend, is Was Up Racing Engines and Was Up Marine, based out of Brick, New Jersey. A full-service marina up there in Brick. AMH Construction, based out of Orlando, Florida, knows their hospitality business. Go to amhconstruction.com for more information. Dimensional Engineering, leaders in race technologies, 3D scanning, and reverse engineering. FB Marine Group, Randy Squeers and Kim Squeers, fbmarinegroup.com. Contender Statements, a wide variety of new and used boats at FB Marine. Total Sim US, world-renowned experts in aerodynamics and CFD. Thank you to all of our sponsors and being able to make this broadcast happen here in Englewood. So, Scott, back to you. Which do racers like more? They like more turns, or they want long straights?
Well, it depends on who you talk to. And, some boats, Gary is very good at getting acceleration out of a boat. And that's where he's got an edge. And that's why you'll see him in most of the races this year. You see him jump out to an early lead, and it takes a few laps to reel him in and get past him. So his propeller work and his efforts have gone into getting that thing launched and getting out into clean water early. So the homework he's got to do now is how to maintain that lead by keeping that speed up or making some more speed. We like the variety. We love going up to Lake of the Ozarks and racing on that slick water. We like going to Key West and racing between turn 2 and 3 and 5 foot water. We like Cocoa Beach, which is sometimes pretty much 5 foot water all the way around the course. But we love it all. And if you have the comprehensive approach to setting your boat up, you set it up to where it runs good in every bit of water. And if you do your homework, you can win in all those areas. But what you'll see is the smaller, lighter boats, like the Wicked boat is a 30-footer, so he runs less weight than we do. So he has an edge over us on smooth water races because he's got the same horsepower, but he's got less weight. But when he gets in the bumps, he slows down. So he has a disadvantage. So that being able to mitigate all that stuff and make your boat run well in every type of situation is what separates the men from the boys in crunch time at the end of the season for points.
Well, yeah, and that brings up a good point, about weight. Even though he runs a little bit lighter than you, he still has to meet a minimum weight coming out at the end of the race, correct?
He does, but it's less than the 32-foot boats.
All right, so Shadow Pirate continues to lead. This is SVX, Mr. Technology, JRA Boat Sales, and our Trinidad team, Sheriff Lobo, Shamil and Mark in Sheriff Lobo, all the way from Trinidad. Not sure what's going on. Yeah, that's or not. Well, we know what's going on. That's the back of the pack for SVX, and a tough day for JRA Boat Sales because they were up there in second place when we had to go to that red flag situation. So here comes LSP Hurricane of Awesomeness, Revex Oil. They continue to lead in Pro Stock B.
I don't see phase 5.
And it was just brought to my attention, we don't see phase 5. And I do see a towboat moving on the course. There is a helicopter hovering just outside the dogleg between those two buoys. But I don't think they're upside down.
What's that? That's too far out, isn't it?
That's that thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, phase 5 is down, upright on the backside of the course. They are upright, but they're just about our 1 o'clock from our broadcast tower. They are down. So now that has moved quick up to second place, with Shadow Pirate continuing to lead. And now Cape Hayes Marine, Ryan Beckley, Mr. Consistency, is now up into third.
You know, I want to tell you a little something about Ryan Beckley and Cape Hayes. This guy is an icon in S-Class. And my first S-Class race was in Key West, and I had broken a piece off of my motor, and I didn't have the part. And everybody said, go see Ryan. So I go see Ryan. He goes, Scott, there's a whole power head in the back of the truck. Take whatever you need. So he set the bar, and he taught me what S-Class is all about. And even though we're out here competing in arm wrestling, we're talking crap about each other and everything, every one of us will lend you anything we have, and on many occasions we have lent one another things that have allowed them to beat us in the race. So the camaraderie and the sometimes I call it a sorority, but it's an excellent fraternity to be part of. And because we're all running the same equipment, we all are able to help each other because we want to win out on the race course. We don't want to win because somebody broke or because somebody flipped. We want everybody to finish, and we want everybody to finish well, so we know who the real men are and who the real boys are.
Well, exactly, and that's really what OPA Racing is all about, promoting that unity between racers. And, I mean, we are one big family. You know, I mean, we'll all do anything we can to help each other. You know, the SPX, the Pro Stock guys, Pro Stock B guys, they all do the same thing. I mean, they're all willing to help. And you know, Brent has done a lot of work to the Pro Stock B boats and to the SPX boats up in Maryland out of his shop because he spent a lot of time into his, you know, LSP Hurricane of Awesomeness Revex oil boat. So he's earned the right to be able to do it. But it is one big family here with OPA Racing. As we went to that red flag situation, it was just about the halfway point of the race. So now we're going to keep our eye out for the checkered flag. Here comes Shadow Pirate. I don't see it yet. So Shadow Pirate continues to lead in Super Stock. Wicked now in second place. So this is going to be a big booster for Todd, right? I mean, you know, starting to get that boat figured out, you know, coming up there, and you got to finish to win it. That's the number one rule of racing. You got to finish to win it. You know, I mean, sometimes you can win it. I mean, look at performance boats that are auto alert. I recall with Rusty Williams, one of the new teams in Super Stock. They won a world championship by being consistent all season long. I don't remember them winning a race. I could be wrong, but I don't think they won a single race. But they were always up on that podium while everybody else bounced around. They were consistent, and they ended up winning that championship.
Well, that's true. They never got a checkered flag this season, and that's how I won my first world championship. I got seconds and thirds all year long, and first place kept changing places. So the points accumulation was mine, not the guys out front. You know, another note about S-Class, you can rest assured that most of S-Class will be on hand near Gary's boat, ready to lend a hand when that thing comes out of the water and get that salt out of those motors and get that thing pickled and preserved so it can be restored.
Yeah, the most important thing are the motors. I mean, the wires, the wires and the smart craft, whatever he's got in there, that stuff's all done, unfortunately. I mean, it probably didn't survive. I hate to look at it that way, but it's going to take, it'll still be half a night's worth of work just getting the motors pickled by the time you get the diesel in them, flush them out. I don't know who's going to go through them, whether it be Mercury or Diamond or anybody like that. But they've got to be preserved until they get to that point and get broken down.
That's right.
If any air gets in that motor and hits a saltwater surface, it's going to immediately begin to corrode everything and just make a ginormous mess.
That's right.
So here comes Marker 17 Marine. They are leaders in SVX. And the checkered flag is waving for Marker 17 Marine. So that's going to give the win to Brian Forehand and Marker 17 Marine in SVX. It looks like Sunprint is going to come in second place. And the father-son team of the Killdolls will come in third in boatfloater.com.
Man, that overcast has been nice.
It has been. But see, now it's kind of gone away. See, it's kind of gotten a little bit more glare at us. Yeah. But it's helped a little bit. Yep, boatfloater.com going to come across the line in third in SVX. Oh, no, Scott, at Cape Hayes Marina now has a problem. Ryan is limping. Possibly, it looks like, on one motor. But he's got to finish to get the third place and to be in contention. If he doesn't finish, that could be the end of his weekend. As Shadow Pirate's going to come across the lead, and Shadow Pirate, I believe, is going to take the checkered flag in super stock. So the last group we have out here is going to be the Pro Stock B guys, and that was LSP Hurricane of Awesomeness Revex Oil. They were leading from the start, and they led right after the red flag situation. There's JR8 Boat Sales. I really feel for Mark and Danny. They had a really great race going, and unfortunately we're caught on the bad side of that red flag situation. Here is LSP Hurricane of Awesomeness Revex Oil. They are going to take the win in Pro Stock B, and it looks like Fast Boys rather, is going to come in second place. So as we wait for these boats to finish, let's run through our sponsors one more time, and we will wrap up this broadcast. This is the fourth of 5 races today. Our next race will be Unlimited and Super Cat. This race is brought to you by Porte Products. Scott, I really appreciate you being up in the booth with me. A lot of our fans out there said they enjoyed our banter back and forth, so I appreciate you being up here and lending your advice.
Well, I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
All right, that's Scott Porte and Porte Products and Porte Performance. Our presenting sponsor for the entire broadcast is What's Up Racing Engines and What's Up Marine, based out of Brick, New Jersey. Full-service marina up there in Brick, New Jersey. AMH Construction, the Orlando-based construction company known for renovation work. Dimensional Engineering, leaders in race technologies, 3D scanning, and reverse engineering. FB Marine Group, out on the east coast of Florida. Dealers for Statement Marine, Contender Boats, Victory, and Century Boats. Big line of boats, obviously Victory. Unfortunately, is what went over for Gary Ballou earlier. And Total Sim US, world-renowned experts in aerodynamics and CFD. Thank you to all of our sponsors for making this happen. And not everybody was done, Scott. There's still some racing going on, and it looks like Shadow Pirate is still running on the back end of the course. Now, with the red flag situation, it could possibly lead to an extra lap being run, right? Because it depends on where you finished and where you stopped and what they considered that to be the lap. So a couple of guys may say, well, we'll run one extra just to be safe, but that can only be a guess.
There are lots of stories in history of people stopping one lap before the end of the race. Sometimes the checkered flag gets brought out for one class, and it's not time for another class.
Right.
So even though it was waving out there, if you got the fuel, you may as well. And Nick enjoys running the boat, so it's fun to take an extra lap.
Yeah, he's just out there for a Sunday ride now, right?
Yeah.
Well, and remember, Cape Hayes Marine did have an issue. It looked like they were running on one engine, and I'm looking to see if I see them. Well, I think that's Wicked. That looks like Wicked to me running the extra lap, and it is. So maybe Todd just decided to run an extra lap. But there's Lobo, a whole group of boats back here that I think did some extra runs there. But there's Sheriff Lobo. They are finishing their race in XVX. You got Mr. Technology in our view shot now. That's the Phantom with Will Smith. Here comes Team Octane. Howie Nichols, the president of APBA, is actually running Team Octane Day with Jason Problems. Pretty cool to see him out there. And there is JRA Boat Sales. JRA Boat Sales is a company where if you want to go racing, you can buy that boat right there, ready to go racing. You just have to buy your props. Check out JRA Boat Sales for more information. And I think Fast Boys even ran an extra lap, and we know that they came in second place, barring any technical infractions. So we're going to go ahead and go off of the air. I'll check with race control, but I think because the helicopter just refueled, we're going to get to this next race pretty quickly, and this will be Unlimited and Super Cat. So unofficially, our results for this race are in Super Stock. It was Shadow Pirate in first, Wicked in second, and K-Pace Marine in third. In SVX, it was Marker 17 Marine, Sunprint, and BoatFloater.com, your top three. And in Pro Stock V, it was LSB Hurricane of Awesomeness, RevX Oil, Fast Boys, and I believe Nobody's Business was third in that class. All right, we'll wrap up the broadcast. You're watching the OPA World Championships coming to you live from Englewood Beach, Florida, Englewood Waterfest. We'll be back right after this.
I'm with Scott Porte from Porte Performance, and whoa, what an interesting event that was. You were calling the race. What actually happened out there?
Well, we kind of caught the tail end of it, but it looks like FJ Propeller was trying to make a move on the Phase 5 boat in the turn, and it got away from them, and they turned over. But they both came out of the hatch below, so they're each in one piece and they're mobile. And other than that, I don't know anything else.
You know, Scott, some of the things we worked with today in the drivers' meeting are really coming to sight here, because we're talking about safety, we're talking about speed. These super stock boats are getting faster and faster.
Well, they are, and you know, when this class started, they were running 24-foot skaters with open cockpits and 200-horse outboards, and these guys were getting killed in them because they were open cockpits, and they're running 100 miles an hour. Now we typically run races well over 110, and the boats can actually run faster than 120. But the boats are 32 feet now. They're completely enclosed. We're strapped in with seat belts, and we've got onboard air. And the boats are running faster than they ever have, and we're running safer than we ever have.
Yeah, and it looks like it's the class everybody wants to go in, because obviously it's a boat you can pull behind your truck. You don't have to take an entourage, and you can jump in it and race.
Well, it is the fastest you're going to race in offshore with outboard motors, and it is exhilarating. It's as fast as I ever want to go in a boat, and I never thought I would ever say I was satisfied with a particular speed. But it's all the exhilaration you need, and the performance and the speed that you're running, you can still throttle by watching the water in front of you. When you get past 120 miles an hour, your reaction time and being able to keep that boat righted by the throttles starts to go away pretty quickly, and then you start relying on length of boat. So that's why the 50-footers do so well in the big water.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting is that when you get the opportunity of working with outboards, you've got trim, and then we have this issue of the unfair advantage, because there was an item that I understood was on a boat that you won several world championships and several national championships that was actually outlawed from this class.
That's correct. We used the Porte hydraulic transom bracket, and it gave us a little bit of an advantage, and we got really good at using it, and it contributed to a lot of our winning. And we had an undefeated season last year in OPA. We've won pretty much everything for the last 2.5 years, and the end of last year they got outlawed.
Well, you know, that's a great marketing advantage, because if it's the unfair advantage for racing, it's the unfair advantage for tournament fishing or whatever else we want to do. Let's talk about Porte Performance and Porte Products. What is Porte Performance?
Porte Performance is an assembly of sharp minds that we've gathered up from several different industries. We've got Bill Bonner from Dimensional Engineering, who is in the optical scanning business, and we've got Nathan Eagle that is in the CFD business, right. And he's got background in Formula One and a list of attributes that I can't even remember. There are so many. So we brought in some sharper minds than ours and created a partnership along with Faro Engineering, and we're pursuing understanding a lot of the aerodynamics and hydrodynamics that are going on with these boats, specifically right now in S-Class, but catamarans in general. And we want to work on getting these things to be a little bit more predictable and a little less prone to be troublesome when you get them out on the ragged edge, because of the nature of the way they're built. And the problem with these boats is the center of gravity is much farther behind the center of air pressure under the tunnel. And when you design an airplane, those two items are usually designed to be right next to each other. So with these boats, it causes them to get up in the air very easily in the front. If you're airborne for too long, the transom drops because of the weight of the engines, and the center of air pressure is too far forward, so that motors drop, and then you end up being able to, in a situation where you can trip the boat and ultimately stuff, and that's the kind of thing that gets people hurt.
And we had, and just 2 weeks ago, we had two boats side by side, which was obviously the most viewed social media event I've seen in years. We had another boat, same class, go over by itself. So Porte Performance was always in the business of chasing speed. But now I think Porte Performance and its partners with Total Sim and Dimensional Engineering are in the business of chasing safety.
Well, one of the things we've done, with Porte Performance to begin with in the running surface designs that we've pursued, is we've actually designed safety into them because we designed them with a much greater margin of usability. So our bottom design in S class that's underneath the Shadow Pirate will turn much sharper than anyone else. So when we're in a turn and we know that the people in front of us are turning as hard as we can, we know we are safer inside of them rather than outside of them because they can't get where we are. So we get through the turn faster and we do it in a safety zone that those guys aren't able to reach right now. Same thing with the top end. We make bottom changes on the boat. So the squirrely nature of these things running up on their little bitty running surfaces when we're past 110 miles an hour, the boats aren't squirming, or our boat doesn't squirm around like the competition does. So we are more firmly planted at speed, and we're more firmly grounded in the turns. So we naturally have ended up with a larger safety margin because of the way we've pursued this and faster lap times.
And now, as we kind of look towards the next event, obviously we have a lot of different boats, not different in design. They're all catamarans, but we have two different classes. We have the 750 horse class, which is our Super Cat, and then we have the hotly contested Extreme class. And but they're all catamarans. Some of the same issues are going to exist. Is that right?
That's correct. The boats run the fastest with the center of gravity way far back in the boat, probably I would say just roughly in the back third of the boat, where the center of pressure for making the boat perform the best is quite a bit forward of that. So the same physics that will cause us to get out of shape in an S-class catamaran or an F1 catamaran exists for the big boats too. They are so long and they respond more slowly, so they aren't as prone to getting in trouble as we are, because the smaller boats are much more nimble, and it's like backing up a short trailer compared to backing up a long trailer.
Well, we're going to see how these guys back up a long trailer in this upcoming race. This is going to be an exciting class. We call it the Big Iron. The big boats. And Scott Porte from Porte Performance, Porte Products, thank you so much for everything you do for our sport.
Yes, sir.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2019 OPA World Championships, coming to you live from Englewood, Florida. Been a beautiful day one of racing here. Had a couple of small incidents on the race course, no big deal. But now we are going to see the fast boys run race number 5. Unlimited and Super Cat, 7 boats total in these two classes, and I expect to see some really good racing out of both of these groups. Let's get our sponsors thanked first. Our presenting sponsor for the broadcast, and of course could not do this without them, Was Up Motorsports and Was Up Racing Engines, based out of Brick, New Jersey. And we'll finally get to see Anthony Smith either one more time in AMH run the 750 class. AMH Construction, I just said AMH because they're out here in the 750 Super Cat class. AMH is an Orlando-based construction company. Dimensional Engineering, leaders in race technologies, 3D scanning, and reverse engineering. FB Marine Group. Understand Randy is on his way here to be able to join us tomorrow. We look forward to having him. FB Marine Group sells Contenders, Victory, Statement, Contender, Victory, and Century boats. Porter Products and Performance, Offshore Race Engineering and Design, and Total Sim USA, world-renowned experts in aerodynamics and CFD. All right, so we've completed our parade lap. If you're not standing on Englewood Beach, it's time to stand up, because these are going to be loud and they're going to be fast. And with this flat water, we'll probably see seats well up of 140, 150 in this unlimited class. So in unlimited, we have Team CRC spooled up. We have the Canzini Platinum, DF Young, and Miss Geico all running unlimited. And in Super Cat, we have AMH, CJ Grant, and SV. Now remember, this is the second race for this SV boat. It's an Outer Limits catamaran. That's Simon Prevost and Vinny Diorio on board. Vinny used to run in Marker 17 Marine, and he's jumped up to the big class. So it looks like the pace boat is getting everybody ready to move. And this particular race is being brought to you by Dimensional Engineering, leaders in race technologies, 3D scanning, and reverse engineering. So the pace boat is getting unlimited boats up. As I said, there's 4 boats in this group. Team CRC, Mike DeFries and Jay Muller. We have Canzini with Ed Smitty Smith and Stefan Canzini. We have DF Young with Richie Wyatt, and I'm not sure who's in the boat with Richie, but we'll get that figured out. And then Miss Geico with Steve Curtis and Miles Jennings. Now, Miss Geico is the only boat that's running the 1100 Mercury engine package, which we saw all year long in the Class 1 group for the APBA National Championships. All right, so we're under yellow flag. They're going to get these 4 boats lined up. Somebody way in the back there, I think that's Canzini. It's DF Young on the pole. There's CRC, Miss Geico, closest to the beach or closest to you on your screen. And Jim Jackson, I can see him waving his arm. He's trying to get these boats to line up. Been getting compliments all day long about these starts, how good they've been and thorough with making sure the boats line up. Green flag, Unlimited's going races. Look at the rooster tails go up. Hear the engines spool up. We're going racing one more time in Englewood, Florida. What a start by spooled up CRC. But DF Young was on the inside of that group. Let's go back now to the 750 start. AMH, CJ Grant, and SV Racing. And we have a green flag there, so we're going racing. Super Cat 750. AMH out to the early lead. Good jump on the start. And then there's CJ Grant and SV. And SV starts to take a little bit of a lead over CJ Grant, working their way into second place. AMH out in front. As we go back to this unlimited group, and it looks like, by my vantage point, it looks like DF Young is in first. CRC Spool Up is in second. And Geico is in third, with Cazzini in fourth. And Cazzini was the boat that looked like it was not up with the lineup. So not sure what happened to him on the start. But DF Young out to the early lead. CRC spooled up in second, Geico in third. And you can hear those motors wind up as they head into the dogleg. And they lift out just a little bit, and then they'll accelerate through the dogleg down in to this buoy number 4 on our northern end of the course. DF Young looks really good, though. It's the first time we've seen this boat all year. And we're glad they came out to run here in Englewood for the World Championships. They were able to pull away from CRC spooled up just a bit. As they go into the corner, DF Young continues to lead. Spooled up CRC in second, and Miss Geico currently in third. And back out to the 750 class, who's just now entering the dogleg. That's AMH out to the early lead. SV Offshore and CJ Grant battling for second. Right now it's SV with the early lead. But here is DF Young, or your leader in extreme. CRC spooled up in second, went way wide on that corner, maybe trying to carry as much speed as they possibly could. But here comes DF Young. That beautiful 50-foot mystic. But CRC spooled up is fast. And that's only a 42 MTI. So you'd think it would probably like this calmer water a little bit better as Miss Geico comes by. And on our screen we have Canzini Offshore coming around in 4th place. Got those Herb Stotler twin turbo engines in that 40-foot platinum hull. And the 750 teams exit the turn. It's AMH out to the early lead. SV Offshore in second, and CJ Grant in third. CJ Grant, a new team this year to our racing series, and they've really done a good job of getting this boat figured out. They brought Billy Moore on board, and everybody knows Billy Moore is one of the most famous throttlemen in offshore powerboat racing, and he's been a good addition to this team as they are trying to chase down SV Offshore. SV Offshore just coming into your screen, and there is CJ Grant Racing. So that's boat number 11, Scanzini. He's currently 4th in the unlimited class. DF Young out to the early lead and has pulled away considerably from CRC spooled up. Last time by this particular point on the track, CRC spooled up was about a rooster tail length behind DF Young. So not sure what happened, but DF Young pulled away. And CRC spooled up looks fast to me. I like how that MTI runs. I've always thought it was a good running boat. A lot of history with that boat with Mike DeFries. And Jay Muller was throttling phase 5 earlier today, and he was also in the Wicked performance boat entry in class 6. So Jay Muller pulling triple duty here, and his final race of the day, and CRC spooled up. DF Young continues to lead in unlimited. CRC spooled up in second. Mike DeFries, Jay Muller hauled right to that buoy. But DF Young looks really good and sounds equally as good as there goes CRC spooled up. That's SV on the back straightaway. They currently running second place in the 750 or the Super Cat class rather. AMH continues to lead. SV Offshore in second, and CJ Grant in third. As there goes Miss Geico, headed into the corner, trying to chase down CRC spooled up and DF Young. Here is Scanzini Offshore Racing, the boat number 11, that 50-foot platinum hull. Twin turbo engines built by Herb Stotler. A very unique sound to them, almost sound like Geico because of the twin turbos. It actually muffles the exhaust, as to where the big blower motors like you hear at DF Young, you get to hear the pronounced exhaust a lot more. Here is AMH. They are leaders in Super Cat, have led since the start. Got a comfortable lead over SV Offshore, And I think SV Offshore may have lost a little ground to CJ Grant. But CJ Grant looks good as they're still working on getting that boat figured out. But I talked to Billy last night, and he seems to be very happy with the setup, very happy with the performance as they try and get this boat better and better each race. And of course, SV Offshore, this is their first race in that Outer Limits Cat that was put together between Steve Curtis's ORS Offshore Racing Services and the group down at AMF Rigging. Helped get that SV Offshore boat together. So DF Young continues to lead in Unlimited. Team CRC spooled up, I think, has lost a little bit more ground. Maybe a little smaller on the setup than what they wanted to be. But let's see how that pans out for them. I think CRC spooled up can catch DF Young. I thought that boat would have a much better chance considering how calm it is out here. But DF Young, you can't take it away from that number 20 mode boat. It just looks perfect running out here in Englewood, as does CRC spooled up. Big blower motors in that DF Young boat, of course, create that unique sound. And they're running tractor pipes, which makes it even louder. But just a beautiful 50-foot Mystic hull built right here in DeLand, Florida by John Kosker and his team there. And here is Miss Geico. Miss Geico having a pretty rough season on the APBA Championship Series. Flipped their race boat over in Sarasota on the very last lap trying to catch the victory team. And this is actually a leased boat for the team. If you notice, the graphics are peeling off in a couple areas and it's actually red. That boat was known as Jesse's Ranch and was housed at the Geico shop. When their current race boat flipped over, they called them up and said, hey, we need to make a lease work for this boat. We've got an obligation to fill. They were able to do that and continue their season in the APBA APBA Championship. This is Ganini. He's coming across the line in fourth. Now, these boats are pretty temperamental, especially the big blower motor boats. So these guys want to stay out there and race even if they're not at 100%. Because anything could break at any given moment. So we'll have to see what shakes out if anything does break, but I don't think it will necessarily. Here comes AMH. They continue to lead in Supercat. I think they've pulled away a little bit from SV Offshore from the last time by, and not much has changed between SV and CJ Grant. But AMH continues to lead. Beautiful boat, that Outer Limits. It just came out great. Just a great line to that boat. Believe it or not, Vinny and Simon, very long-time Outer Limits customers. And as I said, Vinny was racing with Brian Forehand and Marker 17 Marine. They were able to work out a deal for this SV Offshore Outer Limits Cat. They made the purchase and are out here racing in APBA. There's a lot of acronyms in boat racing, and sometimes you get them confused, believe it or not. Here comes DF Young. They are our leaders in Unlimited, and now I think they're finally starting to gap. CRC spooled up just a little bit more. Both boats look really, really good, though. Miss Geico looking a little bit flat. Doesn't quite seem to have the speed that it normally does. We'll have to see what's shaking out with that. Miles Jennings, Steve Curtis on board that boat. And AMH continues to lead in the Supercat class. SV Offshore in second. I see a lot of fans here in Englewood have moved down and put their feet in the water. I hope that feels good. As there goes Geico across the finish line. And I probably should have been keeping laps, but I didn't, so oh well. Extreme running 14 laps and Supercat both running 14 laps. And none of the boats have been put a lap down yet. And the way that the boats are running, I believe that that's probably not going to happen to AMH. AMH looks really good, and they have pulled out a huge lead over SV Offshore. This is Scanzini Offshore, boat number 11. They are exiting that turn where they run to the beach. Now they're headed up towards the finish line. 50-foot Platinum was also a DF Young boat when it was Centron at one point in its life, and then it became Superheat. And then Scazzini now bought it. Big pop there. I don't know if that was the rev limiter or what that was, but a big pop as they cross the start-finish line. That's SV Offshore. They are currently running in second in Supercat. AMH the early lead, and they have simply just checked out. Anthony Smith and Aaron Hope doing a great job. This race is brought to you by Dimensional Engineering, leaders in race technologies, 3D scanning, and reverse engineering. As SV Offshore continues to run in second, CJ Grant in third. And now it looks like DF Young is finally starting to catch up to these Supercat boats and put some of them a lap down. As DF Young exits the turn, out real wide there for that boat, trying to maintain the speed. This boat's got big blower motors in it, about 1,800 horsepower a side. And just such a unique sound with those tractor pipes. It is undeniably a great sound out of an offshore powerboat and offshore racing. You're watching the 2019 OPA World Championships coming to you live from Englewood, Florida. Englewood Waterfest taking place. And if you can make it down here to this beach, it is absolutely a sight to see. People as far as my eyes can see up and down this beach. They've got vendors out here on the beach. They've got the conservation tent set up in the pits. Just a great time down here in Englewood. So if you can make it out here for this race tomorrow, I encourage you to do so. If not, we will be live again tomorrow on Facebook and on YouTube with our same schedule. Race 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 races again tomorrow here in Englewood. Let's thank our sponsors one more time, the people that made this broadcast happen. Of course, our presenting sponsor is Was Up Racing for the whole broadcast. Thank you to Was Up Racing. This race brought to you by Dimensional Engineering, leaders in race technologies and 3D scanning, bringing you race number 5. As we look there, I believe that's SV Offshore. Give a shout out to FB Marine Group, your dealer for Statement, Contender Boats, Victory, and Century Boats, plus a nice line of used brokerage boats. Go to FB Marine Group for more information. And I did get a correction from one of our earlier teams. My paperwork said that JJ Turk was in Bronx Phantom, and JJ was not in the boat. So that means it was his son Rob and Vinny in Bronx Phantom. So I do apologize about that. The paperwork was incorrect as AMH continues to lead in Supercat. Nice, comfortable lead for these two, for this boat. Aaron Hope and Anthony Smith. Aaron has really put the time into this boat to be able to make it run. His crew chief, Kenny, is fantastic. And, of course, Anthony Smith, a fantastic throttleman, and it shows here. And it is shown all season long in the APBA National Championship. Here comes DF Young, getting ready to go a lap around SV Offshore. Remember, faster boats to the outside, slower boats to the inside. Team CRC spooled up. Now getting around CJ Grant. CJ Grant, a new team to racing this year in a 44-foot MTI race hull. They're doing a great job. And as I said, Billy Moore's the throttleman, and they are definitely getting that boat figured out and getting it to be faster and faster each race, which is awesome to see. This race has been produced by 410 Films based out of Edgewater, Maryland. Go to 410films.com for more information. Thanks to Devin and Lauren for doing a fantastic job today. Thanks to everybody that's watched us live on Facebook and on YouTube. And thanks to everybody that's listened to us live here on Englewood Beach. It's been a beautiful day of racing, but I think everything's going to change tomorrow as, again, we're expecting that 14 to 15 mile an hour breeze right out of the west. So I think it's going to push some water up here on the beach and bump things up. Normally, this is a pretty rough water race. But flat this year, I know it was pretty rough when I came into town on Tuesday. It was pretty bumpy, but it kind of has laid down all week. But just what a beautiful place, beautiful beach. Got to spend some time on the beach and have some fun, and really got to enjoy ourselves down here in Englewood. So thank you for all the hospitality. Now that, I think, is Scanzini, and I believe he is on one motor, it looks like. He was running good, sounded really good when he went by on the parade lap. And I was really impressed. But now he has slowed And picks up a little bit more speed there, but out real wide in the corner. And I think it's because they know they have a problem and they weren't going to try and get in the way of the AMH race or the DF Young race. DF Young continues to lead in Unlimited, and AMH continues to lead in Supercat. Scazzini comes by my broadcast tower, and I can definitely hear something wrong, but remember last time by, there was popping and a couple loud big pops, so he could be out of the race. Here comes DF Young. Now they have finally caught up and put AMH a lap down, but AMH is running in the Supercat class and running about 750 horsepower per engine, as where DF Young is running about 1,800 horsepower per engine. Here comes SV Offshore. They are currently second place in Supercat. And I think CRC spooled up may have some sort of an issue. Big rooster tail coming up off the back of that boat, and it has slowed tremendously compared to what we saw the past few laps. So they are starting to slow. Here comes CJ Grant. CJ Grant currently in third place in Supercat. And then here comes Miss Geico. Miss Geico running those 1,100 horsepower Mercury twin turbo engines. That's why that boat sounds so quiet when it goes by. They run the tractor pipes, but considering that a turbo uses the exhaust, it tends to muffle it down just a little bit, and that's why it sounds so quiet. But obviously, Miss Geico, a class act wherever they go, and I know the Geico folks were out handing stuff up and down the beach all day long here in Englewood. So DF Young continues to lead in Unlimited. AMH is in second, or AMH is leading in Supercat, and that is the boat slowing. And I believe that's Scazzini Offshore, as it didn't sound right a couple laps ago and was definitely slow last time by. Boat falls down off of a plane, so they'll figure out what's going on with that. But DF Young continues to lead in Unlimited here in the final race of the day in Englewood, Florida. So they get half points today, and they get full points tomorrow. So the World Championship is nowhere near decided for the 2019 season. Everything will be different tomorrow, and especially if it gets rough out. If it bumps up like we're talking about, then we could definitely see some changes in how things have gone. We're going to look for the checkered flag now for DF Young. I don't see it coming up on the pace boat, but this race is winding down. Just a few laps left, maybe even just one lap left after this time by. And no checkered flag on the finish boat yet, so they're not done yet. But what a race for a boat that we haven't seen all season long. They brought it out for the World Championships here in Englewood, and the boat simply looks fantastic as they run down this beach. AMH Motorsports continues to lead in Supercat. They jumped out to the early lead and did a great job. Aaron Hope and Anthony Smith on board. As we look now at SV Offshore, they are currently second place in Supercat with CJ Grant Racing behind them. Brand new boat, this SV Racing, an Outer Limits catamaran, boat number 88. Just a beautiful piece of equipment. Vinny and Simon have done a great job, and we look forward to what that boat can do in the future. And here is CJ Grant, and there is Miss Geico. So CRC spooled up has definitely got an issue. They did just come into the turn behind this group, but they are definitely slow and got a big rooster tail up, so not sure what happened there. I would expect Mike DeFries and Jay Muller to get it worked out tonight and get that boat back in the water tomorrow to go racing one more time. That's a tough thing about these World Championships in Englewood. We don't get a day off between the racing. It's back-to-back days, so if anybody has a problem like CRC spooled up is, they're going to have to go back and try to get it figured out tonight and see what's going on. So, been a fantastic day of racing here in Englewood. Let's give a shout out to our sponsors one more time. Without our sponsors, this race would not be able to happen. Of course, Dimensional Engineering brought you this race 5 of the 2019 OPA World Championships. The broadcast has been presented by What's Up Racing. What's Up Racing, based out of Brick, New Jersey. From engine building to full marine service, everything you could need. Was Up Racing. AMH Construction, based out of Orlando, Florida, known for hospitality construction. Go to amhconstruction.com for more information. FB Marine Group, over there on the east coast of Florida. I understand that Randy is going to be here tomorrow. FB Marine Group is a dealer for Statement Marine, Contender Boats, Victory Hulls, and Century Boats, also brokerage and used boats. Porte Products and Porte Performance, offshore race engineering and design. Had the pleasure of having Scott Porte on earlier. Total Sim US, world-renowned experts in aerodynamics and CFD. And of course, our race number 5 sponsor, I'm getting a little tired. It's been a long day. Dimensional Engineering. I apologize about that. Dimensional Engineering bringing you race number 5 here in Englewood for the 2019 season. So both of these groups were running 14 laps, and I would expect we'll see the checkered flag on that finish line boat any moment. And of course, the Super Cat boats will have to go back and just be teched, make sure they meet the weight, and make sure they ran the proper propellers and that the rules were abided by here in Englewood. SV Offshore, looking great. There is Miss Geico. Miss Geico has gotten around CJ Grant. However, they are in 2 different classes. I'm really impressed with CJ Grant Racing. They're definitely getting this boat figured out. It is an older boat, and they're having to do a lot of work to it, but Billy Moore's having some great input on it, and they're slowly but surely getting it figured out. CJ Grant team based out of Canada. Beautiful gray and blue MTI hull. Boat number 54. Comes across the start-finish line. So we'll look for DF Young because I believe DF Young has started their last lap. So let's see what we get coming by the start-finish. But what a great race for DF Young. Boat came out of storage down here and raced in Englewood Beach, Florida, and has just run phenomenally all day long. Unfortunately, Team CRC spooled up, some sort of mechanical issue. They were moving slowly around the race course last time I saw them, but I don't see them right now. Oh, yep, there they are. They're right out of the dogleg on the back straightaway. But here is DF Young. Your leaders in Unlimited have led since the start. As we wrap up our 5th and final race of the day, we're going to be racing tomorrow around 10 o'clock in the morning like we were today. We look forward to being back out here on this beautiful beach. Again, conditions are going to be a little bit different tomorrow with the wind kicking up. It was flat today, but I don't expect that tomorrow, and that's going to lead to pretty exciting racing. And I did not see a checkered flag for that time high for DF Young. So we are just counting down the laps here. Oh, Canzini is out with a mechanical issue. He did fall off a plane in the middle of the track. There was some popping I heard from his engine a couple of times when he went by. And something has plagued that boat, so they'll go back and get that boat. Herb Stotler, who is in town, will be spending some time on that boat tonight trying to get it figured out. Now, Team CRC spooled up that even though they are having a mechanical issue, they're still trying to run. Remember, to be in contention for this World Championship, you have to finish today. Even if you're only getting half points, that could mean the difference between first and second come Sunday when the race is over. AMH leads in Super Cat with SV Offshore in second and CJ Grant Graydale in third. DF Young exits that turn on the south end of our course. Here's a nice shot of Miss Geico and SV Offshore. 2 beautifully painted boats. Of course, Miss Geico, one of the most famous boats in offshore powerboat racing, been around for many, many years. And with a new team on board, Steve Curtis and Miles Jennings doing a great job representing Geico and Miss Geico Racing. Here is CJ Grant Graydale, the MTI hull, as they'll come by the start-finish line, or the finish line one more time. As again, we are winding down the laps. Go to oparacing.org for more information. Keep up with the teams. Follow us on Facebook. Follow all these teams on Facebook. AMH, CJ Grant, SV Offshore, Miss Geico, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever floats your social media boat, you can guarantee these teams are going to be on it. As we wind down the day here in Englewood, DF Young continues to lead in Unlimited as I think I've lost him in the glare here. I completely lost him. He's actually coming out of the northern turn, headed down towards the finish line. So we'll see if we get a checkered flag this time by. Let's see out on the start-finish boat. I don't see anything as of yet. No checkered flag as of yet. So apparently my lap guessing abilities were nowhere near what they needed to be. Tomorrow it'll be the same format that you saw today. It'll be races 1 with Class 7, race 2 with Class 4 and 6. Race 3 will be V Extreme, Class 2, Class 3, and Class 5. Race 4 will be Super Stock, SVX, and Pro Stock V. And race 5 will be Unlimited and Supercat. Laps won't change. Nothing will change between now and then, except tomorrow they get full points. So tomorrow you've got to be on your A game in order to be able to win this World Championship in Englewood, Florida. You've been watching the 2019 OPA World Championships coming to you live from Englewood, Florida. You've either been watching on the beautiful beaches of Englewood, or you've been watching at home on your comfortable couch in front of your big screen television, or small screen television, or uncomfortable couch. It's all dependent on how you live. Miss Geico goes by. AMH went by. AMH continues to lead in Supercat. SV Offshore continues to run in second as Team CRC spooled up. Continues to get around the course, definitely on limited power. So we'll get an update from that team to see what happened. And there is DF Young. They are our leaders in Unlimited. And I think if this race went on long enough, they might actually put CRC spooled up down a lap because of whatever mechanical issues plaguing that spooled up team. But again, Mike DeFries and Jay Muller know that they just have to win it. The boat's moving too fast to be on one engine, so they're just down on power somewhere. So we'll have to catch up with them after this race to find out what the situation is with that boat. And DF Young comes through this turn. DF Young pretty much in a race of its own at this point, has looked great since the start and doing a great job coming out of storage and racing for this World Championship for the 2019 season. Don't forget to go to OPARacing.org. Visit the cool Guy Harvey trailer up there for your official event t-shirt. Very cool design they've done on the back, teamed up with Guy Harvey for that. So make sure you check that out. Here comes DF Young. And still didn't see a checkered flag. So 14 laps to me is apparently a lot longer than what I had anticipated, I guess. But we have to thank Ray Labady, the directors for the Englewood Waterfest. Without this group of people, we would not be able to do this. You have Elaine Miller, board secretary, Steve Gardner, president, Dana Lutz, board member, Dave Roth, board member, Daz Jensen, board member, and Ray Labady, a board member. And Ray Labady is the one that has been in charge of these pits and making all of this come together here in Englewood. And it has simply been just a fantastic race. We have to thank all of our municipalities, the United States Coast Guard, who's been down to my left in race control. We wouldn't be able to do this without them because we actually shut this water down for this race to all commercial traffic. Oh, now this is interesting. This is interesting. Something has gone down on the back side of the course. Not sure what it is. Trying to look out now, but somebody broke. And it looks like it's SV Offshore. SV Offshore is down off plane. The hatch is up, so we'll see what's going on with that team. Tough day for Vinny and Simon, as they were definitely in contention for the World Championships, but now that puts it up for CJ Grant Graydell. If AMH were to have a problem tomorrow, we'll see how that pans out. But SV Offshore is down. And the OPA official helicopter has gone above to make sure it's not an issue. But like I said, the boat is upright. The hatch is up. No mechanical or didn't flip over or anything. They just kind of stopped. So could have broken a propeller, could have blown a motor. Any number of things could have happened on that Outer Limits Cat. As there goes Graydell, now moved up to second place in Super Cat. Thanks to all the volunteers. You can thank them when you see them because they're wearing those cool white shirts that were sponsored by Allied Marine, I believe it is, if that's the correct name, but I will look it up. I've never seen a race with 500 or 300 volunteers. It's absolutely a fantastic thing to see that many people come out and be a part of this, because it takes an army to make this go on. It really does. It's not an easy thing to do. And those shirts were sponsored by Abel's Marine. And of course, Cape Hayes Marina was out earlier today on the side of the Super Stock boat. So thanks to all the local sponsors that have made this event come together. So we're winding down our last race of the day here in Englewood Beach, Florida. Some teams are going to have to go back and do some work and get things figured out for tomorrow if they want to have a chance at this World Championship. Race number 5 has been brought to you by Dimensional Engineering, leaders in racing technologies, 3D scanning, and reverse engineering. Our broadcast, there's Dimensional Engineering. Sorry, Devin, a little bit faster than you are. This broadcast has been brought to you by, the entire broadcast is brought to you by Was Up Racing Engines and Was Up Marine, located in Brick, New Jersey. Full service marina up there, from fiberglass repair to engine building to boat storage. They have all of your needs. AMH Construction, based out of Orlando, Florida, known for their hospitality construction. Go to amhconstruction.com for more information. FB Marine Group. I understand, as I said before, Randy's going to be here tomorrow, so I'm excited for that. Haven't seen Randy in a couple of years, so I'm looking forward to seeing him again. They are your dealership for Statement Marine, Contender boats, Victory, and Century boats, plus full service and paint and used and brokerage boats. Porte Products and Porte Performance, offshore race engineering and design. Scott Porte, thanks for coming up earlier in the day and joining me in the broadcast booth. And Total Sim US, world-renowned experts in aerodynamics and CFD. Thank you to all of our sponsors that have made this broadcast happen. Thank you to everybody that has listened live to us. I know we got some delays there when the one boat flipped over, FJ Propeller, but as I understand, they are okay. But I don't think we're going to get to see that boat tomorrow, as probably the damage is a little bit beyond what they're going to be able to do to fix it. As CJ Grant Graydell crosses the finish line one more time. And there is Miss Geico. Well, here comes DF Young. And no checkered flag for DF Young yet. So I was really off on my lap skills. More than normal, you would say. Thanks to Joe Berg and Mark Fitzgerald, our camera guys up above me. Appreciate you guys and everything you did for us. We'll work on some camera technologies between today and tomorrow and see if we can get some things figured out and get another camera going for you guys. But I think the coverage has been great. We're glad you've got to enjoy it, and we look forward to bringing you more racing action tomorrow. As Miss Geico comes through the turn, Miss Geico looks like it slowed quite a bit, actually. Big rooster tail up. Gary Stray, who's just down below me, doesn't have his communications on, so not sure what's going on with the boat, but it has slowed. And it looks like that is definitely on one engine with the rooster tail. So attrition coming into play here in this unlimited class. CRC spooled up having an issue. Scazzini having an issue. And it looks like Miss Geico is trying to finish. They might not be on one motor. They're still moving at a pretty good pace, running those Mercury 1100 engines. Proven to be a great package for that Class 1 APBA championship. Provided us great racing all season long. And give a shout out to our 222 teams. We know you guys are listening over in Australia, or will be listening in Australia. And Victory team, we know you'll be listening overseas as well. And we look forward to you guys coming back for the 2020 season, in which OPA and P1 have joined up one more time to bring you the APBA championship. Go to opaRacing.org for more information as we wind up our last day of racing here at Englewood. Again, thanks to all the volunteers and all the people that make this event happen. Couldn't do it without y'all. Here comes, I believe that's CJ Grant Gradell. Yep, that's them. They're coming through that last turn. And just behind them is DF Young. So let's see if we get a checkered flag this time for DF Young, since I pretty much thought the checkered flag was coming every lap. It does look like Chief Scorer D. Ungarden is at the back of the boat. So I believe this will be the checkered flag for the unlimited class. So we will begin to wrap this race up. Yep, there it is, the checkered flag for DF Young. They are your winners in unlimited. What a fantastic race for this team, as they were able to get out to the early lead. And attrition has definitely contributed to some issues in this unlimited group. Geico is going to have some work to do, I think, as well as CRC spooled up, as they're just going to try and get around the course to accumulate points. AMH Construction should have one more lap after this because they were put a lap down. SV Offshore out with some sort of mechanical issue. So that gives second place to CJ Grant Gradell, who have put themselves in a great position for a world championship, considering tomorrow you're going to get full points rather than half points today. And plus tomorrow, I think it's going to bump up, be a little bit nastier out here as we get that 15-mile-an-hour breeze out of the west. And it'll push the water up on the beach. But AMH has looked really good. Really impressed with those guys with what they've been able to do. And CRT spooled up. I know that Mike had high intentions for the boat today, but it looked like about halfway through this race, some sort of mechanical issue plagued them. So don't forget to check out the pits, the conservation tent, all of the vendors along the row here in the beach, and all the vendors up by the conservation tent. Thanks to everybody for your support. Give a shout out to some of my Maryland friends heading somewhere to have a good time, I'm sure of it. I want to go somewhere where I don't have to talk for the whole rest of the night. That would be fantastic. AMH comes across. This should be, they waved their checkered flag, so that should be the final checkered flag for AMH, as I thought they were a lap down. But again, I don't keep count of the laps. With the boats running together like this, it just makes it too difficult to keep up with everybody. Have to give a shout out to Clay Ratliff. Clay helped us get all this money together to get this broadcast to happen, brought these great partners on board, and we look forward to working with Clay in the future as we wrap up our racing. Here comes CRC spooled up. They are still running slowly, still possible mechanical issues, but this will finish their race. And they will head back to the pits, and Mike DeFries will have some things to figure out later tonight. And here comes CJ Grant Gradell, got up on the podium today. A fantastic finish for these guys. I am super impressed with them. Billy Moore doing a great job in that boat. And then there is Miss Geico. As Miss Geico now comes out of turn, Miss Geico also slowed with her own issues. Race number 5 has been brought to you by Dimensional Engineering. Have to thank Dimensional Engineering for their support. They are your leaders in racing technologies, 3D scanning, and reverse engineering. That's Dimensional Engineering. Thank you so much for bringing us Race 5. You'll see the same format tomorrow as we will bring you racing live on the OPA Facebook page and the OPA YouTube page. This broadcast has been brought to you by Was Up Racing Engines and Was Up Marine, located in Brick, New Jersey. Broadcast wouldn't have been possible without them. AMH Construction, an Orlando-based construction company focusing on hospitality construction. Go to amhconstruction.com for more information. FB Marine Group, Randy Swears, as we get a victory lap there. Get a little bit of a victory lap there by DF Young and some rooster tails getting thrown. FB Marine Group, your Statement, Contender Boats, Victory, and Century Boats dealer, located over on the east coast of Florida. Porte Products and Porte Performance, thanks to Scott Porte to lending his insight today in this Super Cat class. or super stock class rather. It was awesome to have him up here and some great technical information from a really smart guy. And Total Sim US, world-renowned experts in aerodynamics and CFD. Thank you to all of our sponsors for everything they did for us to get us here. We look forward to bringing you this race tomorrow live right around 10 o'clock, just like we did today. Be the same format, 5 races, same classes in each race. And I think it's going to be very, very exciting as the conditions will bump up. So we've got CRC spooled up. They are out there completing one more lap. And I'm guessing because they think they were put down a lap. But we will go ahead and wrap things up when they come across the finish line. We try not to go off of the air if people are still out there running, so that way people know that everything is safe. We'll get our broadcast booth torn down here and be back tomorrow to do it again. So thanks again for everybody that's listened online. Thanks for everybody that's listened on Facebook and on YouTube, all the kind comments. We really appreciate you guys and your support. And, of course, everybody listening at the beach here in Englewood, and everybody's getting to go home and getting to relax. So you guys have a wonderful evening, and we look forward to seeing you back out here tomorrow in Englewood. Here comes CRC spooled up. They were second place behind DF Young, and they suffered some sort of mechanical issue. And I see SV Offshore idling, and I worry that SV Offshore's weekend might be over. They've got a lot of smoke behind that boat, and I think it's burning oil. In fact, I can even smell it. So I'm not sure what's happened to that boat, and I don't know if they have a spare motor in their trailer or not. We'll have to find out a little bit later today. But here is CRC spooled up. They come across the finish line. This will conclude our racing in Unlimited and Super Cat, and we will go ahead and wrap our broadcast up now. We'll be back tomorrow right around 10 o'clock in the morning on Facebook and on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. To all of our fans, have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.